Gonna keep you guys too long here today. Are there any of my advisees here today? If you are, we can do advising after we're done here. Let's see. Sally excused. Bill here. Val. Breen. Lauren. Hodge. Arena excused. Dylan. Rosie here. Schnell. Not here. Let me see if I have an email from him. Blaine. Josh here. Django here. Ryan is excused. I'm going to leave the discussion of management of interest rate risk for a portfolio after spring break. What I'm going to talk about today is where are you? Euro dollar futures, which is in general futures contracts for short-term interest rates. Did we talk about the Fed funds rate futures in this class? We did, right? You don't remember? I mean, I don't either. Because I talk about it in 301, I talk about it in derivatives in just different places. But these are futures contracts that's going to allow you to hedge exposure to short-term interest rates. I mean, we also have federal funds rates, futures contracts. These all work under the same structure. Futures price equals 100 minus the reference rate. What that reference rate is varies depending upon the contract. For Fed funds rates futures, reference rate is average of the effective Fed funds rate during the contract month and for euro dollar futures contract, it is equal to 3-month LIBOR rate on the delivery date of the contract. And delivery date is determined according to specs. Let's talk about briefly Fed funds rate. It's traded on Chicago Mercantile Exchange. It's a lot easier to search for 30-day federal funds futures on CME. Let's look at the specs. Contract unit is $41.67 times the index, where the index is 100 minus the reference rate. That means each basis point essentially corresponds to $41.67. So if you go along at 95.30, contract goes to 95.31. each contract makes you $41.67. If you're short, obviously you lose money when the price goes up. But if price is going up, the interest rate is coming down. Fed funds rates futures are useful for at least two things. A, figuring out what the market expects, what you want to call, at the next FOMC meeting, which is March 22nd, if I'm not mistaken. B, hedging exposure to interest rates that are very highly correlated to Fed funds rate. For example, the prime rate. A lot of bank loans are based on the prime rate. Prime rate is the rate at which banks lend to their best customers. So you could have a loan that's prime rate plus 2, right? So if the prime rate is 7, you pay 9%. If it's 5, you pay 7. But as the prime rate increases, your interest rate cost increases. And prime rate is very closely linked to Fed funds rate. For example, prime rate graph. I mean, currently 775, and the low end Fed funds rate target is 450. That means prime is Fed funds rates plus high and Fed funds rate plus 300 basis points. Let's also look at the effective federal funds rate. This is the rate at which banks lend to each other overnight through Fed window. Currently is 457, 458. It's typically 7 or 8 basis points above the low end of the Fed funds rate target. So if in the next meeting, Fed increases the interest rates by 25 basis points, the upper end of the target is going to go to 5, right? It's going to be 475, 5. Then it's almost for certain that the next day prime rate is going to go up to 8. So if you're paying prime plus 2, you're going to start paying 10 instead of 975. And you can kind of see it here. Let's do only 1 year. As you can see, the prime rate goes up in discrete increments. On March 17, it was 350, then it went to 4. Why? Because the Fed increased interest rates by 50. Then 75, then another 75, another 75, another 75, 50, and 25, okay? It's very highly correlated with that. So if I have prime rate exposure, there is no prime rate futures. Maybe there should be, but there isn't. If I have prime rate exposure, I can actually use Fed funds rate to figure out what's going to happen to me. Let's think about it. Suppose I have a loan that charges prime plus 2, okay? And I borrowed $10 million. Each basis points increase in the prime rate is going to cost me daily $10 million, cost me extra, times 0.01% divided by 365. So that's going to cost me $2.73 over a month. Let's do it over a month. Times 30 over 365.